I would like to share my thoughts with respect to how specialized knowledge has affected my life. When I was in fourth grade, I had a teacher. His name was Dick Fabio. I'll always remember him because he followed me from elementary school all the way through high school when I was a performer in my junior and senior years in high school and was the lead in several shows. After school, I decided because I didn't have an education, that's related to specialized knowledge, that I would enroll in the U.S. Air Force. I did that, and I went down to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, and in my 5th week of a 6 weeks boot camp basic training, I quit. Why did I do that? Well, I didn't want to quit, but I did something because I just wanted a break from basic training, I guess, and I faked a seizure. I made believe I had a seizure. And the moment one of the guys came over to me to give me mouth-to-mouth, all of a sudden I was revived. But they brought me to the hospital. They gave me Dilantin, which is a seizure medication. And then I called my high school sweetheart, and she broke up with me over the phone. And then I got notice that I was being honorably medically discharged from the Air Force. So I was despondent at that stupid decision and went home. Now I was faced with, I have to go back to the original dishwashing job I had at my first job in the restaurant business. A few months later, a friend from high school asked me to, look, Kevin, he encouraged me to audition at one of the most prestigious music schools in the country, the New England Conservatory of Music. And I said, no, I wouldn't qualify for that. He said, just go audition. So I contacted the woman who was in charge of the all-state chorus who had given me a solo that was in charge of the choral department at the conservatory, and she remembered me. So she hooked me up with the person in charge of the vocal department, which was Professor Mark Pearson, and set me up with an interview with him. So I went to his home in Boston and auditioned for him, and he loved it. He said, I'd like to give you voice lessons once a week. So I took a bus to Boston once a week for voice lessons with the chairman of the vocal department at New England Conservatory, and he groomed me to audition. Well, not only did I audition, but I received a full scholarship, including dorm. All I had to do was feed myself. So I went to the bank where my fourth grade teacher was a loan officer, and he gave me a $2,000 loan so that I could have money so that I'd be able to eat in college. Anyway, a month after I started college, one of my fellow college students showed me my first home-based business. I signed up, and guess what I did? Quit college. What? You know, some people make decisions that are so wrong, but I did. And anyway, I was in the restaurant business because I had to get a job, right? And then after the restaurant business, I decided, because I had been reading books and listening to cassettes, to try my skills in selling. So I got into the telemarketing business after I was a restaurant manager at a Pizza Hut for several years. And sure enough, I got the job, and I started making 3 times the amount I was making as a restaurant manager in telemarketing. And then I graduated in telemarketing. I got into different aspects of the profession, and eventually, at age 44, I applied for my first job that required a bachelor's degree. Here we are, specialized knowledge, right? It required me to have an education, a formal education. But I said, I'm going to apply anyway. One of the largest uniform companies in the United States, they had openings for inside sales. Now, my knowledge was in sales. And prior to that, by the way, I had worked 5 or 6 years as a car salesman. And I wasn't your typical car salesman. I would write down the birthdays of everyone that bought a car from me. And eventually, over the years, I was making 3 or 4 calls a week to people and singing them happy birthday over the phone. I was famous for that in the car business and had a great following as a result of that, because nobody does that. Car salespeople could care less about customers. They just want to make their commission and have a nice day. But not me, man. I had a card file. I filed my customers by birth date months. And so I would pull out my cards for that month and put them in order for the weeks, and every week I would have 3 or 4 birthdays to call after a few years in the business. Anyway, back to this application for this job. I sat with the interviewer and the head of human resources, and I said, I'm here, but I do not have a bachelor's degree that's required for this job. But I have a burning desire to succeed, and I'm good on the phone. And she looked at me, and she thought about it for a minute. She said, I'm not sure I can hire you. I said, I tell you what, can we make a deal? You hire me for 1 week, get me trained, and then let me work for another week. And if I'm not producing, fire me. And she looked at me with a smile on her face, and she said, it's a deal. So I got hired. I was the only employee inside sales with no formal education. But, one of the principles that's talked about in the chapter of specialized knowledge is that you don't necessarily need a formal education. A lot of times companies will look at leadership skills and your ability to deal with people, and I had the ability to assemble people by the time I was age 44. Anyway, got the job. I proved my worth that second week, and I worked at that job for 5 solid years until I retired from the job market for the rest of my life. And it's interesting. I looked in my email today, and I'm getting a mail piece, a check from the first online business I've ever been in. I've been getting a check every month from them since 2005, and I've made way over 6 figures with that company, and I'm still getting checks every single month. So my point is, a lot of people out there are in like a home business profession, and they're, I just don't know what to do. I just don't have much knowledge. Well, you know what? You can assemble people who do know what they're doing. Go and grow, and don't let anyone steal your dreams. Bye for now.